Welcome to the DCX podcast, where I interview leaders in the customer experience space about how digital is changing the landscape and how you can leverage these changes for success in your business. Today, I'm thrilled to be joined by Yonaton Raz Fridman. Yon is the CEO of Supersocial. It's a metaverse company. It's a cutting edge studio and a next generation agency developing, producing, and publishing games, experiences, and brand worlds on Roblox and other emerging metaverse platforms. He's also the host and creator of the podcast Into the Metaverse, and clearly a very busy man. And I appreciate you taking the time out of your day to talk with me and my listeners.
Mark, thanks for having me. Really appreciate you inviting me.
I'm excited to talk with you. There's so much going on in the metaverse that some of it's hype, some of it's reality, some of it's just transition. I'd just love to hear your perspective on it, just how companies should think about it and can think about it. What opportunities and challenges for businesses exist for them to extend their brands or experiences? Everything from awareness to retail sales to customer support. What are the opportunities and the challenges there? So maybe you could give us just a brief background on kind of how you got into the metaverse.
I've been building for the past decade companies that are at the intersection of how technology impacts the way we play, learn, socialize, create, anywhere from a computer company that was my first company to robotics to VR, and now Supersocial for almost the last 3 years in building and publishing and operating virtual worlds and games and experiences in metaverse-like platforms. And so, I've seen over the past decade plus the evolution of what virtual worlds in 3D play in the lives of young people, now many of whom are no longer kids, they're now teenagers or young adults. And since 2012, when Minecraft started to explode, and then Roblox was picking up in 2015, and then Fortnite arrived, and obviously gaming has been there for the last 20 years. So 3D worlds is not new. I think what really changed over the last decade is the role that 3D virtual worlds play as a place to socialize, play, almost like the next generation sandbox or the next generation manifestation of the physical playground for kids. When I was a kid at age 5, 6, I didn't even have a computer yet. So, you want to play with your friends, you go outside. And then we had Messenger, and then you played Super Mario. And almost like at the moment, what's happening is that all of those things are culminating in one environment or several environments that have similar pillars or components. And so when we look at platforms where you build virtual worlds and you socialize and experience the internet and friendships and gaming in these virtual worlds, really what we're talking about for a whole new generation, virtual worlds in 3D on like Roblox or Minecraft and Fortnite and others are playing a role that many perceive to be, oh, it's video games, but really what is happening is that these are now almost like a core fabric of society. This is where a growing population of the world is spending time, hours every day, socializing, making friends, making jokes, playing in a way that for the rest of us who are not, let's say, under the age of 20, may be completely foreign, because we've been thinking about virtual world as a video game. And for this new generation, platforms like Roblox and games inside Roblox are not just video games, it's where they hang out with their friends and socialize in a multiplayer manner. So that's a pretty major shift that has been happening. And I think COVID really completely turned on the light on this trend, not only in accelerating it, but also making it visible now to the wider world, which ultimately led everyone to, oh, the metaverse has arrived. Well, the metaverse hasn't arrived yet, which is why it's also not dead, as a lot of people claim, in the beginning of 2023. But we're definitely seeing a trend of how our life virtually is as important and may well be more important in the next 10, 15 years than our IRL identity and life. And I believe that the best outcome would be when both of these two things merge, which provides enormous opportunities and challenges of how do you think about what your brand means to these audiences and so on and so forth. And so in a way, at a high level, we think about the metaverse as and virtual world. We had a first modality of interaction on the internet, which was websites. We then evolved into a more mobile and immediate and cloud-based modality of interaction, which is mobile applications. And I believe that we are now kind of evolving that, not replacing, but evolving that into a lot of those experiences and places of interaction are going to be 3D, real-time, persistent, and at scale.
How do you see that impacting just in real life relationships? And is it a substitute? Is it an extension, an expansion for the users? Or is it, I guess, within COVID, you had to stay away from people. So here's an environment that's built for people to get together virtually. But is that the future? Are we living in Ready Player One at some point?
You know, I think it will be very sad if our virtual being will replace in real life. So I think there is a distinction between what do we want versus what might become. I think what we want is really a very symbiotic relationship between virtual and physical, or virtual and IRL, making sure that those two identities merge. However, I do think that for some people, virtual worlds have always been a place of escapism. I think this will continue to be a place of escapism for a lot of people. I think it depends on the use case. It depends on the person. I think ideally everyone should have access to fast internet and we can all access those amazing experiences. But the reality is that we don't live in an equal world. And so I think there's always going to be a population who want to escape, and there are going to be certain opportunities and challenges involving that. I do believe that across the board, globally, I do think that our virtual identity will have an ever growing importance in our identity, to an extent that we may spend as much money on our virtual life, maybe even more, than we do in real life. And I think of that almost like the metaverse moment, right? And maybe the metaverse is not a thing. Maybe it's a moment when we care more about our virtual life than we do about our physical life.
Interesting. So as a brand, as a company thinking about the metaverse, what if I were going in to my CEO and said, we need to be in the metaverse? He'd say, why? How do you answer that?
Look, the metaverse as a theme, as a theory, is a paradigm shift for how the internet is going to essentially function in the lives of people. The promise of the metaverse is that we're talking about accessing the internet through a network of interoperable virtual worlds that are functional in real time, that are persistent, meaning they never stop, they're 24/7, and they are very much in a large scale where many, many, many people interact in one place at the same time, where we basically have an ability to express our identity in different ways, and we can carry that identity with us across the internet. That's kind of the theory and the dream. Now, even if that happens 50% or 25% or 30% of that theory, we're still talking about a paradigm shift of the internet moving potentially into a real-time 3D operated worlds. And I think that is as big, if not much, much larger paradigm shift of human interaction as we've had with websites and mobile applications. And so, 25 years ago, if you're a CEO of a company, you ask yourself, oh, should we have a website? And suddenly websites became the focal point of a brand and a business life on the internet, right? That's the mirror, that world of the brand or the business. And then, oh, we should have a Facebook page. Well, it became a focal point for interacting and nurturing your own community, right? And then, oh, we need an iPhone app. Well, why do you need it? Well, now it became like our website. It became just like our website on the go and the focal point for everything around the brand. And so when I think about the metaverse and what does it mean to have access to a virtual world in 3D, I think we're looking at different type of experience for people that sits at the intersection of something that is experiential and interactive, that involves socialization, that involves commerce. And when you think about that in that manner, it's not a replacement to the website. It's not a replacement to the mobile app. It's an extension of that in a different way, just like mobile app did not eliminate websites. And so that's why I really think about it as an evolution. It's not going to eliminate the things that brands and companies have done so far. I think the way people are going to interact with a brand in a 3D form is going to be very different than how they've interacted. They're going to be embedded in that brand world, brand experience. Now we're seeing it already in platforms like Roblox with essentially video games that are branded video games. I think that is the initial use case. I think we're going to see many more things that at the moment are very early stage and we're not really comprehending what it means. And this will be shaped to some extent by the fact that there is a whole new generation of consumers that are going to expect and want to interact with brands and businesses in a way that they have been interacting with the internet for the first 10, 15, 20 years of their lives, which is through 3D world and 3D content experiences. Again, this is all an hypothesis. I may be completely wrong, but that's what I would explain to a chief executive.
Well, I think each of the evolutions, as you talked about, they started out, well, especially the internet started out kind of small and isolated, but became this quickly scaled experience. Same with mobile. So it's more and more people join this environment, join this experience. And there's a way to understand who they are and communicate with them. And so when I think about the metaverse and the identity element of it and the scale of it, and maybe I'm just not the demographic at the moment, what kind of scale are we talking about with a Roblox in terms of user base, in terms of demographics? Sounds like it skews young. These, my future customers, what are they?
Yeah, I mean, just a few data points on the Roblox platform audience today. We're talking about 67 million daily active users, the largest in its category. About 23% of this audience come from North America, 77% from the rest of the world. So it's a really global platform. Another thing I would say is that about 2.5 hours on average are spent by a daily user on the platform every day. Unprecedented amount of time, more than any other social platform, even TikTok. Again, because you have a sense of presence in these worlds and you're just immersed in them. We're talking about a demographic that is primarily under 20 years of age, but very diverse in that front. I would describe the Roblox audience anywhere from 5 to 25, a majority of the population on the Roblox platform, with a great balance between boys and girls. So about 45%, I believe, girls and 55% boys, park numbers. Definitely about 50% below 13, 50% above 13 years of age. And so it's true, historically, Roblox was a platform that was populated primarily by kids below 13, but those kids grew up and more kids joined, and now it's much more balanced. It's been around for a long time and it took them time to mature, which makes it all very comprehensive in terms of the ecosystem that they've built. They have millions of people as developers and creators on the platform. And so these are definitely the future customers and consumers of your brands. They're not the only one, but there's no doubt that they are the future customers of your brands, no matter what you sell. If it's a car or a makeup product or just in food, there's no doubt that they are part of the audience that is your future customer.
So what's the best way to show up, or what are the different ways that companies are showing up today? It's not billboard advertising, or I guess it could be in an area.
That also happens, and Roblox just introduced immersive ads where advertisers can advertise in billboards inside games. We call it immersive ads. But definitely the more bespoke, unique is brands coming into the platform, partnering with companies like mine, like Supersocial, where we think of ourselves as a Metaverse 360 company. We do everything from the strategy to the design to building to publishing to operating to growing virtual world and turning it into a business for our enterprise partners. So you can come in and build a bespoke game world on the Roblox platform. It could be time-based, it could be evergreen, meaning it lives forever. There are pros and cons for each approach, different level of investment, different level of opportunities for upside, both financially and marketing-wise. You can do an activation inside an existing game and collaborating with games that already exist on the platform, which would be a smaller investment that you want to make. And so there's multiple opportunities for brands on how to, come in and essentially connect and interact with this next generation audience on platforms like Roblox. And there's going to be more platforms, in the future. Fortnite Creative is expanding as well. And so I think there are already numerous ways for brands to jump in and be part of this evolution of the internet without waiting too long until it's too late to really nurture and build resonance with these communities.
Got it. You bring up a good point of full metaverses or multiple different experiences, different platforms. Are people living in multiple, or are they kind of focused on one, or they jump around?
Definitely jumping
And then,
around. You know, Roblox is a super app. It's almost like one app where you can access millions of different experiences. It's not like you need to download each game. You download the Roblox app one time, and then you can access myriad of experiences inside the app. I think I saw someplace the number where a really active user on Roblox access between 7 to 10 different experiences per week. That challenge is essentially, how do you build loyalty with that audience? There's multiple ways of how to approach that, but definitely you're part of a pretty large ecosystem of experiences, almost like a mini internet to some extent, right? And it's funny because I think for a lot of those users, Roblox is the net homepage. I wouldn't be surprised if for a large group of 10-year-olds, Roblox is the first place they go and their parents give them the iPad or their iPhone to like spend some screen time. So facto, it is the internet homepage for them.
yeah. So thinking about it from a brand perspective, how can I connect with these users? I'm looking for information, I'm looking for targets, I'm looking for the right environment to show up. How do I what to do? And I assume that's a lot of what you do with your
You
clients.
partner with Supersocial.
Yeah.
Yeah, look, jokes aside, what we do as a company is we work with our partners to truly understand who they are, what do they want to accomplish, what the objectives of entering the space, what success looks like, what level of investment they are looking to make. And we basically take all of that information and we put together a comprehensive concept and proposal, commercial proposal of what is the world that we should be building for that partner, and in a way that will have met their objective and success factors. And we bring all of our experience, which includes an enormous domain expertise on the Roblox platform, an enormous domain expertise in game design, an enormous domain expertise in how do you build and promote and connect and amplify these virtual worlds. And we basically take our partners on that journey in a trusted, innovative relationship. And that's what we do. And you know, we're very excited about bringing brands into these worlds because, you know, in the 21st century, brands is the church. It's a distributed form of church. Every brand has their own gospel. It's not just a product, you know, that people buy. And it didn't start in the 21st century. Like, brands tell a story that speaks to people. The best brands do it in the best way possible. Apple, think different. Nike, just do it. So every brand has a story, and we want to bring them in a way that is authentic to the brand and authentic to the community. And that's where the rubber meets the road, is that intersection. And how do you do that in a way that makes business sense?
Are there some companies that are doing it well, that some examples we can share with the audience?
Yeah, I mean, the first example, of course, would be, again, apologies for the self-promotion, but we definitely have some great use cases. NARS Cosmetics is a prestige beauty brand, a really well-known brand in the prestige category, an innovative brand, a unique brand, world-class brand. And they partnered with us last year on the Roblox platform, and we launched NARS Color Quest, which, you know, quite rapidly became the #1 branded virtual world on the Roblox platform, and one of the top brand worlds ever launched on the Roblox platform. And the reason we've been able to accomplish that is because we've done exactly what I've described, which is we've built something that was truly inspired by the brand. We've built something that was exciting and engaging and resonant with the community, and we've delivered it at the highest quality to meet the brand's objectives. So that's just one great example. And I'm very excited about a group of new brand worlds that we are going to launch on the Roblox platform this year. And, you know, maybe you'll invite me in 2024 and we can talk about all of them.
I'd love to. So for the cosmetics company, they have an embedded base already. Is this about finding new customers or bringing the existing customers a new opportunity to experience the brand, or both?
I think for majority of the brands that are coming into virtual world platform like Roblox at the moment, it's really about building a community and nurturing relationship with this new generation and really starting to build those relationship early and also cementing their brand as an innovator, as a pioneer, pushing the boundaries. It's not what every brand needs, but we definitely have witnessed that that's kind of the primary goals at the moment. There's definitely element of experimentation with monetization, generating revenue. Again, if we believe that people will invest in their virtual identity as much, if not more, as their physical identity, we're talking about a big business and a big economy. Now, I don't expect a beauty brand or a fashion brand to suddenly say, we don't care about our retail sales, it's all about virtual goods. I don't think that's going to happen. I think if you sell jeans, you're still going to care about selling jeans. I do think initially there could be an incremental revenue generated from virtual goods. What is more exciting in my mind is how the two connect in the future. I think there's going to be a lot of innovation there, and there could well be an interesting revenue stream for brands no matter what they sell. And the thing is that unlike in the physical world, a beauty brand is not going to suddenly sell you jeans in their store, and vice versa. A jeans is not going to wake up and suddenly sell you a makeup product. In the virtual world, you can turn that upside down. So with NARS Quest, for example, it's the beauty brand. We launched virtual goods that were beyond beauty. There were fashion items, there were accessories. And so suddenly you can open up a whole myriad of opportunity of how do you think about merchandise and products and experimenting with what people may want to have in the future. Maybe 5 years from now, people will use virtual world as a platform for experimentation and prototyping. Oh, we're selling jeans. Well, let's see if there is demand virtually for a new product line. I think there is a really interesting R&D element that no one is really doing yet. So if I think 5-10 years down the line, I think virtual fashion is actually going to be an industry. It's not just going to be some experiment.
What about influencers? Are they added into the environment? Is that a thing at this point?
I think influencers and let's say kind of YouTube creators or Twitch or TikTok creators are definitely part of that ecosystem. I think they play an important role in the Roblox ecosystem in promoting and enabling discoverability of experiences and games on platforms like Roblox. They definitely have communities of their own. So they play a key role in the ecosystem, I would say. And I think what I expect to see is also more creators and influencers potentially looking at expanding their own business and what type of content they would want to build and be part of, not just promoting.
So thinking about 5-10 years from now, what is the world we're living in? Who are these, I guess now 20 to 30-year-olds? Are they still there? Are they somewhere else? Are we all living in two worlds? What's it like 5-10 years from now?
Look, I'm a big student of history. So let's look historically. Facebook launches 2004, 2005. For the first 10 years of Facebook, it was really the core generation that used Facebook. My generation, right? I'm a millennial and, I was university student when Facebook came out. So, that's the generation, slightly younger, slightly older, that really lived in Facebook. It took another decade until our parents came to Facebook. Now guess who is populating Facebook? Mostly our parents. The young people left. I barely check Facebook now, maybe some Instagram and stuff. But like when I look at Facebook, like my mom is always there. The thought that my mom will be a power user of Facebook is like boggle the mind. Like in 2005, you would not say that. So I think there's a generational thing where most likely my almost 2-year-old baby girl, when she's 6, 7, 10, I think virtual identity is going to be so much more embedded in their identity. They are the first metaverse native generation who is born into this next modality of the internet. By the time she's 10, virtual fashion, virtual identity, I believe avatars will be a massive business. It will be as integrated part in our identity as our IRL identity. That will open up massive opportunities for brands. It will increase the internet economy by a significant scale. And I think the question that I don't know the answer to is how that connects to IRL. And again, if it goes back to the earlier point, it may well be that it's depending on the use case, on the population, on the geography. But I do think by the end of this decade, we will have, I believe, a thriving global virtual economy that is powered by giving people access to these expensive real-time 24/7 virtual worlds where we experience so many different things: games, entertainment, sports, fashion, identity, expression, storytelling, and so on and so forth. And when you think about it in that way, we can also have multiple identities, because in the virtual world, you don't have any limitations. That's why someone once asked me, how many people will be in the metaverse, you think, as users? And I said, I think about 100 billion. He said, wait, how? I was like, well, I think everyone will have multiple identities. Not everyone, but maybe a lot of people. And so these are some of the things that I believe we may see by the end of this decade. And if you think about now the evolution of also using generative AI and AI in general, there will be synthetic humans, synthetic beings. We will have friends that are completely fictional. My daughter will probably have real friends, and she'll probably have some AI friends that are interacting with her in these virtual worlds. It's so scary on the one hand, but also you can see it happening. You can see the trajectory of that happening over the next 5 and 10 years with the evolution of technology. And she will have AI buddies, and they're not going to look like AIs. They're going to look exactly like her, communicating, outfitting. Maybe she will have friends that continue to live in the metaverse while she's going to school. And when she's coming back, they'll tell her about all the fun stuff they've done in the metaverse. I mean, think about that crazy stuff.
Yeah. Well, my kids are a lot older now. When they were born and growing up, it was the beginning of the cell phones. And to them, that's the way it was. We have cell phones and there's access, to the internet eventually. And, those phones are attached to them. And at times they've created their own little world about who they communicate, when they communicate, and they do have real life. They go out to work, they meet up with other people, but it is pretty easy actually to get immersed in that and lose a lot of the social skills and the serendipity that comes from meeting people and learning about new things. And I guess it kind of boggles the mind to think about going into an environment that is limitless and kind of this potential.
People are also scared about change. And we always think about the past as the ideal model for life. I'm a bit more deterministic about it. And I think technology is deterministic. It's deterministic because humans are all about pushing forward, progressing. So I'm a bit more deterministic about human progress and human behavior. And I think we will see different behaviors. My daughter is not going to behave like me, just like I don't behave like my 70-year-old parents. So I'm pretty deterministic that it will change. And, there are going to be many people who look at, back in the day, it was so nice, like how, back in the day, it doesn't matter, right? Some things we'll look at and say, oh, wow, like this is really bad. But what is good or bad will be determined by future generations. It's always the people who are left behind and look back that are looking at the rear view mirror as they think about what has changed. And of course, by definition, people don't like change. So they would look at new behaviors as bad. Who are we to say that for these kids, it's bad? Yeah. They will form their own new habits. For us, it's like, oh my God, they're spending 20 hours on the screen. As far as I'm concerned, they might spend 24/7, like in the cloud. Who knows, right?
When I think about AI and I think about what's happening even just today in terms of deep fakes and information, and it gets harder to discern what's real, what's not, what that messaging that you can receive if you go down this path versus this path, and you don't have necessarily the same kind of guidance from parents or friends or others to be able to discern what is right. So very much creatures of experience, of influence of what comes to us, and we have to assimilate that, but we also have to have some boundaries, and that's part of what we learn, I think, as growing up.
I don't think we're going to lose what it means to be human, but I do believe in human progress being deterministic. And I do believe that if you would bring someone from the 1900s to look at the way we interact, communicate, dress, they will think, oh, this is horrible. They will look at some things, but I'm just now talking just about human behavior, the way we communicate, the way we
Mhm.
interact. We lost so many things about the human condition, but we've gained so many things. And I think that's the balance of life, right? Which is
Mhm.
why, again, I'm deterministic. There's going to be a lot of good things. And there's a lot of stuff that when you and I are 80, we're going to look at like 20-year-old and we're like, oh, this is terrible. By
Right.
definition, it's going to happen.
Well, I think that's a lot of when we think about digital, when we think about this new platform for life, in the midst of natural events that are happening. And is it safer to just kind of be in your own little world with your headset on and food delivered and trash taken out, or are you engaged in the world? I find, for myself, I've been working from home since the pandemic, and that's 3 something years. My world expanded in a lot of ways because of these types of environments. You and I probably never would have met in person. So this is great. So there's a lot of benefits, and I totally agree with that. I just think it's interesting. Maybe you and I, as adults at this point, can integrate these experiences differently than a 3-year-old or a 5-year-old or a 10-year-old.
For them, it will be in the de facto then human condition. For us, it's an adaptation. That's the difference, right? But I think back to brands, right? Like I think the choice that chief executive officers need to make now is, are we going to shape who we want to be, or are we going to be shaped? And because we are going through a transformation, there is no doubt about that. The level of progress and the speed of innovation and technology advancement, every year there is one or two mega technology trends in them every year. I mean, what COVID created is an explosion and a massive acceleration of a lot of things that were bubbling up. And now it's suddenly like whoosh, all speed ahead, right? It's like we're moving in this fast lane direction. And I think that's incredibly exciting, but it's also incredibly intimidating. And look, CEOs have a lot of work, but they have to figure out a way of how to have a certain element or a certain level of effort that helps them figure out what this transformation means and what are the type of bets they're willing to make in order to stay relevant in the next decade.
Yeah, I think the question is it, if I wait 2 years, have I missed it? Probably
Well,
no.
it's a question is not what have you missed. The question is what learning you have not obtained.
So learning. Okay. So investing to learn at this point
It's all
is
about learning. No one is going to suddenly like change dramatically their business. It's all about learning, being immersed, right? You know, once someone wants to, you can't learn to swim by doing this on the shore. You're just not gonna, right? So you can do this forever, right? And I think we see a lot of brands doing this. But if you really want to learn, put some bets, put some swim shorts, and jump into the ocean and swim.
Yon, this has been a great conversation. I really appreciate your time. I look forward to seeing what you and your team create and seeing where the metaverse goes. And I think, like you said, there's a paradigm shift happening, and we should all be aware of it. And I thank you for taking the time.
No, thanks for having me, Mark. It's been a blast.